Well, first of all, you have to congratulate the young man, Deus, that is 39 years old. And
did you just mention his
31.
age?
31. 31 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. And his presidential candidate is 43 years old. So, I mean, Museveni was president probably for 10 years before he was born, and for Baby Wine, 3 years.
It was 4 years,
Yeah. And I think all over the world, it's a best practice, best governance practice for presidential candidates or presidents to respect term limits. That are, if it's 4 years or 7 years or 5 years, then that should be respected unless it's in a parliamentary democracy. In a parliamentary democracy, you can go on so long as your party keeps winning. But still in other parliamentary democracies, they're also introducing those limits. Because, I mean, you may be the best leader, but after ideally doing 2 terms, you need to make way for a new set of leaders to come in. Which is even the reason why in parliamentary democracies, including Kenya, we should start entertaining the idea of having even a 2-term limit for MCAs, members of National Assembly and senators. Because if you've been given 10 years and you've not delivered your magic within 10 years, so, I mean, how will you convince us that you're going to do better after... I mean, if you're given another term.
They were talking about this, and I'm sorry I'm cutting you short, because many a times they say that most of the African leaders, or basically leaders, will get into parliament or get into the spaces where they are forming policies and laws, and they will concoct laws that are going to end up being poisonous to them. And perhaps it would be a beautiful thing to imagine that we're even talking about 2-term MCAs in the basis of, if you can deliver in 2 terms, then the probability of you delivering moving forward is minimal. But what happens in a scenario where then we bring in leaders, and you see most of the times they say that the first year is to make sure that you bring back the money that you used during campaign. And so that means there's an expansion of the elements of corruption and all that. Don't you think then we'll be working on poisons that is actually going to finish us eventually? Because they will tell you that you've put me here for 2 years. I might not be able. I was just getting to acquaint myself with the office 1 year. Now the second year, just when I began lobbying, just when I began doing this, is when you're telling me to go. How much of development are we going to enjoy?
In that case, there's a tragedy that if you, and we've said these times above number, that if you've got leaders who win an election, if they don't have capacity, character and competence, then there's a probability that they'll be in office for as long as they're alive. You may be the sharpest tool in the shed, but accept that you're a human being and you're going to do 2 terms. And also there's this voodoo reasoning that I've invested a lot in the electoral process, that I need to go back to the office and recover my money. Running for political office, you're not investing in a business in real estate that I've spent 10 million. I need to recover this 10 million before, maybe in my first 2 years before I settle down and start doing business. In my view, that is something that we must run away from.
Right.
And where you have to give President Museveni credit, he said that when he was taking office, that he was going to campaign around ideologies, ideology-based politics. There are people are going to elect you based on the ideas you present, not on your bank balance. So if you present good ideas, people will give you political office. Please implement your ideas within the first term, and after the first term, people will have an opportunity to review what you've done, and then they'll give you another term. After you do 2 terms, go home. You've got good examples in the world. Barack Obama left office, I think, at the age of 54, and people said, wow, this is a young man, what is he going to do? But he had delivered within 8 years. You can talk about Tony Blair, you can talk about many other presidents. So leadership in Africa should not be seen like it's a title deed, that you've bought a piece of land or real estate and you have to stick there. When President Museveni says that we need to have ideologies, it means that leaders need to present ideas. They need to offer thought leadership. We need to see intellectual conversation so that we can see between leader 1 and leader 2. Like right now, Kenya is in for instance, we've been talking about a referendum moment. You recall PCS Musalia Mudavadi said it's a referendum moment. He presented ideas. Let people interact with those ideas and say, if you have said that, for instance, you're going to have IBC coming up with issues, and you've got the census data for 2019, which is going to be mixed with the census data for 2026. Is there going to be data integrity? That is an issue people need to debate. The second one, Kenya has been struggling to achieve the 2/3. We've not achieved it. Maybe that is something which can be sorted out by the going into a referenda.
Right.
Now, that is something we need to encourage across Africa.
Okay.
So that you go to office, not on the basis of your pedigree, that we know your father or we know your mother, not on the basis of your bank balance, but on the basis that you presented ideas.
And I want to come back to you shortly, just get to understand whether you have taken time to listen to what, Deu's party is presenting to the people of Uganda, and say the other 8 candidates